Welcome to this predicted paper from onmaths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. There are 10 squares in total, so each square is worth 1/10. And if we count all of the shaded squares, we notice that in total there are 7 shaded squares. So that's 7 lots of 1/10 or 7/10. So I'm going to start just by copying this question. When we're told to solve, it means we need to find out what x is. And there's a nice little strategy to be able to do that. And the first thing we do is just draw lines left and right of the equal sign. And we look at the left-hand side and work out what is stopping x from being on its own. Well, this -10 here is stopping x from being on its own. So we need to get rid of that somehow. And we do that by doing the opposite of it. So what is the opposite of take away 10? Well, that's going to be +10. But you can't just do that to the left-hand side. You have to do the same thing to the right-hand side. So on the left-hand side now, we're left with just x because we've got rid of that take away 10. And on the right-hand side, we do 6 plus 10, which is 16. So our solution is x equals 16. Congruent means that it's a shape that is exactly the same as another shape, but it can be rotated, translated, can be flipped around, but it's basically the same shape. So I imagine cutting it out onto cardboard and trying to fit it into the other shape. If it can fit, then they are congruent. So looking at the shapes, we've got some triangles, we've got some weird looking shapes, but I'm going to look at A and I'm going to draw A in. So I'm just going to trace A. And what we can notice is if I manipulate that now, and if I bring it down to E, it kind of almost looks the same as E, but what I can do is actually just reflect it, and it's exactly the same as E. So A and E are congruent. We're going to start off by writing the numbers that the dots are at. So we've got -12 and we've got -5, and x is anywhere between those. Now, it's obviously going to be greater than -12, and it's going to be less than -5, but it can equal -12, and the reason for that is it's a filled in dot, but it can't equal -5 because that is a hollow dot. So we have an original amount, and this represents 100% of the original amount. The new price, or new amount, represents 113% because it has said that it has gone up by 13%. So it has increased by 13%. And as a value, that increase is £1,287. So it's 13% of the original. It's gone up 13% of the original price. So what we're going to do is we're going to work out what 1% of the price increase is. Instead of 13%, we're going to work out what 1% is. And we're going to do that by dividing the amount by 13, and we get 99. So 1% represents £99. So 1% of the original represents £99. But the new amount is 113%. So we need to times the £99 by 113, which gives us £11,187. So the picture is now worth £11,187. With these questions, we've just got to go around and fill in what we can, and there's going to be some numbers like this one here we can't fill in yet, so we're going to have to be strategic in the order we do it. I'm going to first of all look here, and notice that the total of girls and boys is 29, the total of the boys is 18, so take away the 18 from 29 and we get 11. Next one I'm going to fill out is this one. Notice that the total for the green is 15, total for the boys who's picked green is 12, and therefore for the girls it's going to be 3. Then looking around, what's the next thing that we can fill out? We can fill out this one, because the total for the boys is 18, green is 12, blue is 1, therefore we've got 5 left over. Then we can fill out this one, 2 plus 5 is 7. Then we can fill out this one, so 2 plus 3 is 5, then plus another 6 would be 11, and then 6 plus 1 is 7. Bearings questions are normally written as find the bearing of destination from a location. So you can see in this question here that the answer is 275. So the line they're taking it from is this line here, this north line, and they're looking at this bearing here. So we currently are at B, and we're looking at the angle of A. So it is the find the bearing of A from B would be the question. So we've got to first of all work out how many parts there are altogether. So oil has 21 parts, vinegar has 5, so altogether there's 21 plus 5, which is 26 parts. Now how many of those parts are vinegar? Well, vinegar is the second one, so it's going to be this 5. So vinegar has 5 out of the 26 parts, or a fraction would be 5 over 26. It's really important when answering this question that we're really methodical. So we're going to start off just looking at steak, and I'm going to start off with the S, and we're going to pair it with the first dessert, which is the I. Then we're going to pair the steak with the second dessert, which is the mousse. Then we're going to pair it with the third dessert, which is the fruit. So we're being really methodical. We've done all of the combinations with steak. And so we're going to look at burger next. And we're going to pair it with the first ice cream. Then burger. And we're going to pair it with the mousse. And then finally the burger we're going to pair with the fruit. As long as we do things methodically, we don't ever miss any. So the only options for the next card are for them to be higher, lower, or equal to 12. We already know that the probability for it being higher is 19% and lower is 28%, and all probabilities have to add up to 1, or in this case, because it's percentages, 100%. So to work out the probability that is missing, we're going to take away the 19% and the 28% away from 100% to see what's left, and that's 53%. So I'm going to start just by writing out the equation, and I can put my lines in. Okay, we're asked to make x the subject, so we're going to first of all add 10 to both sides. In fact, I'm just going to move all this over a little bit so I've got a bit more space. Okay, so we're left with m plus 10 on the left hand side, and we've got 1/7 x on the right hand side. Now to get rid of the 1/7, what I can do is just times both sides by 7. So 7 brackets m plus 10 equals x. So x therefore would equal 7 brackets m plus 10, but it says expand your answer fully, so we're just going to expand the brackets. 7m plus 70. The first thing that we can actually work out for this Venn diagram is this part here. So it says 12 had a cat but not a dog. So the cat but not a dog is showed with this A here. So if 12 had a cat but not a dog, and in total 22 had a cat, we're going to do 22 take away 12, which is 10. So 10 had a cat and a dog. If 16 had a dog, and 10 also had a cat, that means that 6 had a dog. Let's make sure we fill these in. And if overall there were 31 people, and there were 12 who just had a cat, 10 who had a cat and a dog, and 6 who had a dog, that leaves 3 left over. The formula for the circumference of a circle is circumference equals pi times the diameter. In this question, we're given the fact that the circumference is 37.7, and we're asked to find the diameter. So if we put our lines in, all we need to do is divide both sides by pi. So we've got 37.7 divided by pi equals the diameter. And so that is, when you round, well, it's 12.00 blah blah blah. Round to the nearest integer, that would be 12 centimeters. And we can try it by typing in 12 times pi, and we get what would round to 37.7. We can't work out what x is straight away, but we can find this value here. And we know with Pythagoras we can find a third length if we've got other two in a right angled triangle. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And a and b were labelled. C is always opposite the right angle, so it'd be 49 squared plus b squared equals 68 squared. And 49 squared is 2,401. And 68 squared is 4,624. So we are solving here, so let's get our lines down. And we're going to start by subtracting the 2,401 from both sides. So we've got b squared equals 2,223. Then we're going to square root both sides, and we've got b equal to 47.148 blah blah blah. Okay, we're now looking at the second diagram, and this time we're going to have a, we've got our b, and we're going to call x the c. So it'd be a squared plus b squared equals c squared, but this time a is 39. B we are given as 47.148, we've just worked that out. And we're looking for c, in fact we can call it x now. Okay, so we need to square that. So we do 39 squared plus 47.148 squared, and that will be 3,744 equal to x squared. And we'll just get our lines in because we need to square root both sides, and we get 61.188 blah 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 is equal to x. It says it wants its two decimal places, so that would be 61.19. To find solutions for quadratics on a graph, all you need to do is find out where the graph meets the x-axis. Okay, so the coordinates this graph meets the x-axis are here and here, and that would be minus 0.8 and minus and 0.2, and they're also called roots. Acceleration is change in velocity over change in time. So change in velocity, where it starts at 0 and goes up to 150, so that would be 150, over the change in times. Well, the time starts at 0 and goes up to 5, so that's 5. And so 150 divided by 5 is 30. The velocity is in meters per second, the time's in seconds, so the units will be meters per second squared. So it's 30 meters per second squared. To find the resultant vector, we just get the two vectors and we add the tops and add the bottoms. And it's a plus minus 13, so it's 9 take away 13. When we do that, we get 13 at the top and minus 4 at the bottom. So we notice with the simultaneous equations, we've got the coefficients of the y's being the same. And so what we're going to do is just write out these equations again. just so we can see a little bit clearer about what we're doing. And for simultaneous equations, we're working downwards. So we're just going to show that with circles here. Don't forget the signs belong to the y's. Okay, now the thing we're looking at is the signs for the y's, because the coefficients of the y's are the same. No, they're not quite the same because obviously one's plus, one's negative. But if they're the same sign, then what we're going to do is we're going to subtract. If they're a different sign, we're going to add. So S in same is S in subtract, D in different is D in add. Now looking at the signs, they're different, one's plus, one's minus, so we are going to add. And we're going to add going downwards, so we're working out the sums. And 7x plus 5x is going to be 12x. 5y plus minus, well the minus wins that, so it's 5y minus 5y is 0, which is good. We need it to be 0. And then we've got 43 plus 5, which is going to be 48. Get my lines in to solve it. So we're going to divide both sides by 12. And we get x equals 4. Now that is only one solution. We've got to find out what y is. So what we're going to do is we're going to substitute that 4 into the first equation. So we've got 7 times 4 plus 5y equals 43. Get my lines in. And 7 times 4 is 28. So the first thing I'm going to do is take away 28 from both sides. So we've got 5y equals 15, and then we're going to divide the 5 to find out what y is. So we've got y equals 3. Now we can check this answer by working out the second one. So we're going to do 5 times 4 minus 5 times 3, which is equal to 5. With these questions, it's normally easier to view these as two separate triangles. So we've got a small triangle here with 19 and 47. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this out. And we've got a bigger triangle here. And we've got, well, we've got a bit of, we don't really know what any of the sides are just yet, but we can work them out. Okay, now we know that both of these triangles are similar, and the reason is they share an angle and the lengths at the bottom are parallel, so they will be similar, which means one's an enlargement of the other. And we are given some information in the question that the ratio of BC to DE is 1 to 6. So BC is this length here, and DE is this length here. So we're actually given the scale factor because we know that 1 times 6 is 6. So we know the scale factor is 6, and it's asking us to find length AD. And so the corresponding length to AD, which is this one here. So all we need to do is get that 47, times it by the scale factor, so times it by 6 to get to our value. So it's 282. So in this question we've got a right angle triangle and it involves two lengths and an angle, so it's going to be a trigonometry question. So we're going to start by labelling the sides. So we've got the hypotenuse opposite the right angle, opposite is opposite the marked angle, and the adjacent is between the right angle and the marked angle. Now notice the opposite doesn't have a number or a letter next to it, so we're going to cross that out, we're not interested in that. We're next going to draw our triangles for SOHCAHTOA. So it'd be SOHCAHTOA. And we cross out the opposite, so we're not looking at a sine or tan, we're going to be looking at the cos. So it would be cos the angle, or cos x, equals a over h. And the angle is 37. So cos 37 equals 7.1 over x. Now, whenever you're in this situation, and we're just going to put our solving lines in because we're going to be solving this next. If I can press the right button, there we go. And whenever you're in this situation, what you can do is swap the left-hand side, it has to be the whole of the left-hand side, with the x at the bottom. You can just swap those over. And effectively what we're doing is multiplying both sides by x and then dividing both sides by cos 37. So when we swap those over, we get x equals 7.1 over cos 37. When you type that into your calculator, just make sure you close the bracket. If when you type in cos it opens a bracket, make sure you close the bracket before you ask your calculator for the answer or press the equals button, and that would be 8.890 blah blah blah, and when you round that to 2 decimal places it will be 8.89. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.